Hmm? Okay. Let's try and do that with it.
Good evening, everybody, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Lovely to see you all again. Can you hear me all? Can you all hear me okay?
Yes. You want the volume up?
Wonderful. So before I go into full introductions, we are expecting about 35 to 40 people. We have 20 of you on, 21, including me. So I'd just like to give it a couple more minutes, if that's okay, just so we can get the majority of people online. And then I'll do an introduction. I'm pretty sure everybody on here has done a cook along with me at least once by now. But if not, I always like to go through housekeeping and a bit of what we're going to be covering and how we're going to do it today. But most of you are seasoned cook-alongers by now. So I'm really looking forward to cooking along with you all again. It's been a while for a lot of you. So really excited to talk to some of you again and cook along with you this evening. So I'm just going to go on mute and turn my camera off just for another minute or so, and then we'll get started. I would like to let everybody know I will be recording this session simply because there are some people who have purchased tickets are unable to make the event at short notice for various reasons. So if you don't want to be recorded or don't want to be, videoed or whatever, feel free to turn your cameras off. But rest assured, I'll only be sharing this video with people who have signed up for the cook along and no other platforms at all. So if you're okay with that, then fantastic. So the only other thing I would say is I am going to put you all on mute just so that there's no background noise. If I'm not able to mute you from my end, please could you turn your microphones off for the time being. Thank you. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Give me a big wave if you can hear me okay. Fantastic. And a second wave if you can see me okay. Wonderful. So I have got you all on mute now. So if at any point you do come off mute by accident, please could you mute yourselves again just so there's no background noise so people can hear me nice and clearly. But it's really lovely to see you all. It's been a long time, as I was saying earlier, for many of you. I'm delighted to be cooking along with you again this evening. Before I go any further, for those of you who have just celebrated Christmas, belated Merry Christmas to you all. I can't believe we're nearly at the end of 2024 going into 2025. And for those of you who have cooked along with me before, you'll notice that I've got now, finally, a brand new kitchen, but just not quite a brand new cooker yet. So I am still waiting for that. So I'll be using my trusty portable induction hob this evening to show you what it's possible to create on an induction hob. So hopefully you'll all be set to go very soon. I'll talk you through the ingredients, the recipe that we're making, and everything that goes along with it. So today we're going to be making an Achari chicken with some turmeric and coriander rice. Now the rice is really easy to make. Of course, I'm going to talk you through all the steps for that. Achari chicken, so achar basically means pickle. So for those of you who've ever had like a mango pickle or a lime pickle with your poppadoms or with your curry, that's basically the flavorings that we'll be going for with this particular dish. Some of you may be doing a vegetarian version, so either a mixed vegetable version or with cauliflower. So for those of you who are using cauliflower only, please can I ask you, if you haven't already, to cut those or break them up into fairly small to medium sized florets, so then cook in a good amount of time. Everybody else, if you're doing chicken, then chicken on the bone, skinless would be great. If you're using boneless chicken breast or thigh, again, hopefully you've already got that cut into small to medium pieces, and we'll be starting with that. So just bear with me. I'm just going to go to gallery view again so I can see all your wonderful faces in case you have any questions. So just give me a wave if you've done a cook along with me before. Okay, so that's the vast majority. So thank you. For just in case there are some people, because I can't see everybody's face on this screen, just in case there are any people who are doing this for the first time, I'll just explain how this will work. So essentially, you'll be cooking along with me step by step, live. I'm going to be talking you through the recipe as we go through. I will recap a number of times, so don't worry if you forget, if you miss how many teaspoons of X, Y, or Z is going in. I will recap. If any of you, if I don't recap enough, or if you need a reminder of anything at all, then just take yourself off mute and shout at me and I'll answer your question. Or alternatively, you have a chat function that you can also type your questions or comments into. So if you just hover over the screen, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a chat icon function, like a speech bubble. So you can click on that and it'll open up the chat function. That will go to the whole group. You can select it to come directly to me and not everybody else. But generally speaking, if you've got a question, then the rest of the group have probably got the same question, or maybe some people anyway, in which case it will be relevant for everybody. Now, some of you may be cooking alone. Some of you may be cooking with family members. You may still be staying away over the Christmas festive period with other people and decided that this would be a nice activity to do. So I'm delighted you could join me this evening. As I was saying earlier, some people haven't been able to join and have purchased tickets. So I am recording this session and I will only send it directly to individuals who have purchased a ticket, or they will email me and request it, in which case I will share it with them. I won't be using this recording for any other purpose than that. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions at all? I'll just pause for a few seconds.
Hi, Raheel.
Hi, Jeanette. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And thanks for sorting me out with the links and everything. I appreciate it. I've got one question just about the yogurt. So my daughter's lactose intolerant and I've got a selection of yogurts because I couldn't find lactose-free yogurt. And I wondered if you knew which one might be best. So I've got coconut yogurt and I've got soy yogurt Or we've also got normal yogurt if it could do with less. So do you have any advice?
Yeah, so personally, I would go with the soy yogurt. Is it like an Alpro soya yogurt type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go with that. The coconut one would also be fine, but obviously you'll get a bit of coconut flavoring in that, which actually might also be quite nice. But I would go with the Alpro soya, particularly for the lactose intolerant for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. It's great to see you again then. Thank you for joining in.
Okay. Cheers.
I'm just going to see, great being back in this cook-along. Any specific pots and pans? Right. Thank you, Hector. I shall go through that now. Oh, okay. Yes. And Judith is saying about the boycott list, and Alpro is on the boycott list. So I should just explain what that's all about. But before I go into that, pots and pans and equipment for today. So you'll need a medium-sized mixing bowl of some sort to marinate the main ingredients. And then you'll need, which I'll show you in a minute, just a saute pan, high-sided saute pan, or a saucepan, or a wok, any kind of vessel large enough, ideally with a lid, that we'll need for cooking. And that's all you'll need, apart from, of course, a spoon to stir with, your chopping board and knife and everything else that goes with it. But apart from your main pan and a mixing bowl, that's all you'll need. I should just explain as well, someone said about the boycott list. So during the past few months, of course, we all know there's been lots going on in the world, particularly in the Middle East. And some of you may have seen that I've been doing some charity fundraising events for Palestine in particular, just one of my chosen charities, Medical Aid for Palestinians. But that is quite separate, if you like, to what we're doing today. All right. So it's a little bit difficult because I'm trying to do a bit of charity work, but also trying to do those social events, which is what this one is. So this is a social event. So it's for people who just want to cook along, enjoy cooking, learn to make something new. If ever you join any of the other events, the charity style events, we normally have a guest speaker or something like that, but that's quite separate to what we're doing today. So I just wanted to sort of kind of draw a line between the two, if you like, because there are two very distinctly different events I'll be doing. Yes, thank you, Aisha. As she's saying, I think it's important to be aware in all events. Absolutely, I totally agree. What I am trying to say, though, is as much as I'm doing a lot for Palestine, I really wouldn't want this to be a political platform for people who just want to join in and cook. That's not me sidestepping the other issue. It's just that everyone has different beliefs and feelings about things, and that's not what this event is about. Of course, I'm more than happy to talk about my personal views on things if people want to, because I wouldn't shy away from that at all. I've been very vocal about the situation and how I'm supporting the people of Palestine. So absolutely, if you want to talk about that, no problem at all, but maybe on a separate event or with me directly, please, if that's okay. So today then, as I say, Achari chicken is what we're making. We're going to be making it with some pickling spices. So the first thing, so the process for today is we'll be marinating the main ingredient. We'll leave that to one side. We'll then make the base sauce. We'll then add the main ingredient back into the base sauce. And whilst that's cooking, we'll then go on to making the rice, and hopefully it'll all come together no later than 7:15 at the latest, so we can all start eating. Of course, that's UK time. We do have people on here joining in from the USA, from Mexico, from Switzerland, so various parts of the world, obviously with different time zones. So without further ado, let's get on with that today. And what I'm going to do is move the camera down onto the counter here so you can see what's happening. So just bear with me. Okay, so first things first, let me just pin my screen. So hopefully you can see me nice and clearly. Just bear with me. So can you see me nice and big on your screen now? Wonderful. So if I just put this camera down here onto the counter. Okay, so what you'll see, obviously, this is my lovely induction hob. I don't have any heat on it, obviously, at the moment, because we're going to be preparing the marinade. So I've got here a pestle and mortar. You can use a pestle and mortar, or you could use a grinder, or anything like that, because we're going to take the seeds and just kind of grind them down a little bit. So you can use an electric grinder for that, or a pestle and mortar. Actually, yeah, that's obviously one thing I should have mentioned earlier as the other piece of equipment that you'll need. But any way that you can just pound down these seeds, and they don't have to be completely powder form, then that would be great. Okay. So first things first, then, into here, we're going to go in with all of the seeds. So the first seeds we're going to go in with are these ones. So these are fennel seeds, all right? So we'll go in with 1.5 teaspoons of fennel seeds into the pestle and mortar. As I say, I will recap all of these measurements as we go through. We'll then need 1.5 teaspoons of cumin seeds. So just regular cumin seeds going in there. The next thing are brown or black or yellow mustard seeds. All right, so your preference. So we're going to go in with 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds as well. And finally, we're going to go in with 1.5 teaspoons of nigella seeds. So nigella seeds are also known as kalonji seeds, if you're buying them from a South Asian supermarket, or onion seeds. Now, I did put on the recipe list that if you can't find these, don't worry. There's not really a substitute for them, and it won't really negatively impact, certainly, your recipe today. So if you've not got them, obviously don't add them. If you have got them, then 1.5 teaspoons of nigella seeds would be great in there also. Pop those to one side. Okay, and then just give them a really good grind. So just using your pestle and mortar, just kind of grind them a little bit. As I say, they don't have to be completely powder form. If you've got a grinder, then by all means use that. And if they powder down really nicely, then that's also fine. But as I say, this will be more than adequate for the purpose of today. I will, of course, come round and say hello to a few of you once we get the main onions and everything going. Then it gives us a little bit more time to have a bit of a chat. But for now, let's just get the food on the go, and then we can have a chat. Yeah, so for those of you who know, this house extension, particularly the kitchen, has been going on for, seems like forever and a day, really. We started a couple of years ago, and with everything that's been going on, it's just been one thing after another, and it's kept stalling. But we're finally there now, just waiting on the cooker, and then we're all done and dusted. Okay, so that's pretty much enough, really. So you'll see my pestle and mortar there, if I bring it a bit closer to the camera. It's not a completely fine powder. We've still got some whole seeds. That's fine, as long as they're broken down a little bit to release their flavor. If you've used, like I say, a grinder, then you'll have a much finer powder than I have. That's also fine. So what I'd like you to do then is to take your main mixing bowl, whatever mixing bowl you have. It doesn't have to be a glass bowl. It can be a plastic bowl. And into this, we'll add the main ingredient. So in my case, I've got here chicken, jointed, on the bone, skinless. All right, so that's one whole chicken. It's approximately 1.2 kgs, that was. All right, so approximately 1.2 kg. Now, again, from a health and safety perspective, if you handle that chicken, if you're making chicken at any point, please do make sure you thoroughly wash your hands with soap and water before continuing. I've obviously just popped that straight into the bowl. I've not touched the chicken, and so I don't need to wash my hands on this occasion. But if I do touch that at any point or get any on my fingers and hands, then I will wash them thoroughly. So same for anyone doing the cauliflower or mixed veg of any kind, as long as it's a similar sort of quantity, then pop that into the bowl as well, and we'll marinate it in exactly the same way. So the first thing I'd like you to pop into here is some yogurt. So we talked about that yogurt already. So I've just got here some plain natural full-fat yogurt. You could use Greek yogurt, low-fat yogurt. It really doesn't matter. But yogurt of some kind just to help with the marinade. And into here, approximately 100 to 120 grams of yogurt. So I'll put 120 on the recipe, but it really varies depending on what kind of yogurt you're using and the water content, etc. So I'm going to go in with about 6 heaped dessert spoons of yogurt. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's a 400 gram, no, that's a 500 gram tub. So I've used about a third of that, all right? And just give that an initial mix around, just coating most of whatever it is you've got in your bowl with that yogurt. Now, you could do this with fish as well, exactly the same method. So if you eat fish, then prawns would be a really nice recipe to use for this. You could also use lamb in the same method again. So again, if you like your red meat, you could use that. So pretty much any ingredient, really, you can use the same method for this. All right. So that's that. I will recap this. So whilst everyone's just doing that bit, I will just recap again what went into this spice mix, okay, in case anyone's missed it. So we had 1.5 teaspoons of fennel seeds, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin seeds, 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds, brown or yellow, and 1.5 teaspoons of nigella seeds if you've got them, also known as onion seeds or kalonji. Now, Hector's asking if we don't have mustard seeds, can we do Dijon mustard? I wouldn't add any kind of Dijon mustard or any other kind of English mustard or anything like that, because it will add more moisture content, and we don't want that for this particular marinade. Obviously, we've got the yogurt in there already. So if you don't have mustard seeds, just leave them out on this occasion. You could add a little bit more of the other seeds if you like to make up the similar quantity. And then in this bowl, I popped in the main ingredient, in my case, chicken. And I'm going to now add, and then I added 6 heaped dessert spoons of a full fat plain natural yogurt. And now I'm going to add in that seed mixture. All right, so that can all go in there. Now, if you look online at recipes for a Achari chicken of any kind, yes, you can use black onion seeds, Jeanette, absolutely. That's basically what these are black onion seeds. So yes, you can. So if you look at a recipe for Achari anything, let's say Achari chicken online, you'll see that some people also toast those seeds before they add them in. That would also be another nice step to do, just simplifying a little bit today. But if you wanted to do that, that would just bring out even more of the aroma and the flavor of those seeds. So that might be something different to try. Hopefully you'll make this again and you can try that next time. So in with this then, we'd also want to go in with 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, please. And you can be quite generous with that. I'm actually going 2 heaped teaspoons into here. There we go. Again, I'll recap these bit in a second. I'm going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of just regular table salt. So if you're using a different type of salt, sea salt flakes or rock salt or anything like that, then just bear in mind the flavor profile. So you'll know whatever you use regularly, how much or little you would like. So 1.5 teaspoons of that. You can always season more at the end if you need to. So let's go slightly less rather than too much. And then we also need 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. Okay. So let me just recap those last few ingredients. So that was 2 heaped teaspoons of coriander powder, 1.5 level teaspoons of regular table salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. That's gone in alongside the other seeds that we ground down. So at this stage, we can give this a good mix. So just using your spoon, just nice and gently, but making sure that every bit is nicely coated. Let's just move that around to get all those seeds and spices mixed in with this chicken. Now, what we're going to do is, obviously, whilst we're making the base sauce, we will leave this to marinade. Now, again, in the future, if you hopefully make this again, The longer you leave this to marinate, the better. So you could actually leave this even to marinate overnight if you wanted to. That wouldn't be a problem. On this occasion, I wanted to obviously go through it step by step. But next time you try it, now that you know, you can leave this to marinate overnight for sure. Or even 20 minutes, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be overnight. We don't always have the time or the foresight to think, you know, what do I want to make tomorrow and have it all ready, etc. So sometimes you just need to give it a quick 10-15 minute burst of marination. So that's that. So we've got a few more ingredients to go into the marinade. So we've got 1 teaspoon of ginger paste. All right. So that can be ginger paste, or like me, which I'm going to show you in a second. I've got here some grated ginger. Let me just show you that. Just ignore the onions for a minute. So I've got some grated ginger. All right. So about 2 inches of ginger grated just there. I've got 8 cloves of garlic, just roughly chopped. And I'm also using 2 green chilies. Now, I put on the recipe that these are optional. You don't have to put them in because obviously that's going to add further heat to the recipe. We're also using some bullet chilies. So this is the time for you to think about whether you want to add the green chilies or not, depending on the spice level and the heat level you're after. But I'm going to go with all of those in here. So that's the green chilies, the ginger, and the garlic, all in there. Okay. Straight in. And then we'll just give it one final stir, mix, and then we can move on to the onions, etc. And I'll also just recap this bit for you one more time before we move on, whilst we're just giving this a stir. So what we did then, what we've done rather to this point, is we got all of those seeds that are on the recipe list. So 1.5 teaspoons of yellow or brown mustard seeds, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin seeds, 1.5 teaspoons of fennel seeds, and 1.5 teaspoons of black onion, nigella, or kalonji seeds. You can call them either of those 3 things. We ground those down into just basically ground them down a little bit in a pestle and mortar, or you could use a grinder. We then popped into the bowl our main ingredient. I'm using chicken, but you could be using cauliflower or mixed veg. I added into that 6 heaped dessert spoons of yogurt, approximately 100 to 120 grams of full fat yogurt, but you could use a dairy-free alternative if you're doing a vegan option. Mix that through, added in the seeds. Then I've added into this 2 heaped teaspoons of coriander powder, 1.5 level teaspoons of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder. Give that another mix, and then latterly I've just added 2 green chilies, roughly chopped. Again, that's optional depending on how spicy you want this. 2 inches of grated ginger, or a teaspoon of ginger paste, and 8 cloves of garlic. All right. So that's everything in there now. Now I've got a little bit of mixture on my fingers, so that's contamination. So I'm going to just go and wash my hands thoroughly. I'm going to pop this to one side, and I'll be back with you in 2 ticks. Okay, so whilst we're just finishing off that bit, if I just remove myself off the main screen here, just bring this back up for a 2 ticks. Right, how are we getting on, everyone? Marination okay? Happy with that? I'll just check. There's not been any questions in the chat function, so I can only assume everyone is absolutely happy with what they've done so far. Hopefully that's looking great. Again, just by way of show of hands or wave at me, who's doing a cauliflower version this evening? Anyone doing cauliflower? Ah, Jenny, yes, I saw you waving there. So Jenny's doing that, and excellent. Oh, Rachel's also got a hand raised. Fantastic. Okay, good stuff. So I'm guessing everybody else is pretty much doing chicken then, or you might be trying to be clever and doing half and half or double the quantity, in which case, good luck with that. All right, so let's get on with then the main sauce. So I'm just going to grab my pan here. I'll move the camera back down again so you can see what I'm using. So as you can see, I'm using this high-sided, let me just put spotlight on my screen again. I'm using this high-sided saute pan with a lid. This one's actually a Circulon pan. It's a really good one. It's useful for, or it's suitable rather, for induction hobs as well as gas and electric. So it's a really good pan, that one. It's quite a large pan as well, so it's good for most things. So what I'd like you to do then is pop your heat on underneath your pan for kind of low to medium, please, at this stage. So I'm using induction hob. Mine goes up to 9 being the high, so I've got it kind of on a 5. So let's say medium heat. If you're using gas, more on the side of low than medium would be fantastic. And into this, I'm going to pop about 3 tablespoons of oil of choice. I'm using rapeseed oil. But you could use olive oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, pretty much any kind of oil you like, really. You could use ghee, so clarified butter if you like. So I'm going to pop that in here. Essentially, you want to pretty much coat the bottom of the pan quite nicely. We might put a little bit more in once we've got the onions in just to see how that's looking. All right, so that's your oil in the pan. Now, normally, as you know, when we're doing a curry, we go in with ginger and garlic and then the onions. But of course, we've already added the ginger and garlic in with the main ingredient that we've marinated. So we don't need any more at this stage. So what we can do is go straight in with your onions. So I've got here, as you can see, 2 medium onions. They're actually a bit larger than medium. So there's quite a bit of onion there. But 2 medium onions will be more than adequate. I said finely chopped. Again, you can see that decently chopped, but you don't worry about them being really finely chopped. That's not a bother. As long as they're sort of small to medium diced, then that will be absolutely fine. So let's get those all into the pan. Okay, there we go. And then just give that a really good mix to coat the onions with that oil. That's what we're looking to do at this stage. We want all those onions coated with that oil in the pan. All right. Is that nice and clear, by the way, everybody? Can you see that pan okay? Wonderful. Okay, so that's that. Right, so we're not going to leave that alone. We're going to keep an eye on it. Hector's saying, I think we messed up. We added the onion to the chicken. That's okay. Don't worry, that's fine, because we're going to bring the chicken in with the onions anyway. So I guess you'll just have to leave that for now, unless, of course, you can pick out some of those onions. If you've mixed it through, that's not going to be possible. So don't worry, Hector. If you've already mixed it in with the chicken, not a problem. Just wait until we put the chicken in. Then you can put it all in together. There's not really a lot else you can do at this stage. But that's fine. Don't panic. It's going to be fine. So into here, we've got our onions now. Whilst these are browning, you'll also, if you haven't already, need 2 medium tomatoes. Again, finely chopped, small to medium dice will be fine. And you'll also need some tomato puree out of a tube or a jar. All right, not yet, but just letting you know what we'll need shortly. I'm just going to chop up my tomatoes because I haven't done that yet. So I'll do that quickly. And then we'll talk a little bit about the chilies, the bullet chilies that we're going to use. Okay, so just give me 2 tips. Just keep those onions moving every now and again intermittently. Make sure they're not burning or sticking. I've still got my heat on a medium heat here, but I'm using induction. So if you're using gas, you may need to turn it down ever so slightly if they're cooking too quickly. But we want these onions to be nicely browned by the time we go in with the tomatoes, all right? Okay. So just chopping these tomatoes very quickly, then I'll be back with you. Okay, that's one done. If we got the next one. So whilst I'm just finishing off chopping this, let you know that my plan is now to do these cook-alongs on a regular basis, every Saturday. So I will let you know before the end of today what I intend on making next week. So you can have a little think ahead to see if you'd like to take part. Please do also share, I'm sure many of you have done already, and I know you do this already, but please do share information about the cook-alongs with as many people as you know. That really helped me lots, just to spread the word about what I do. I know I've taken a little bit of a break from doing these events, so it's almost like kind of reinvigorating the whole thing again. So hopefully we can get more and more people joining in. So just give this another stir. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about, and just quickly check the chat function. Okay, that's fine. So in terms of the chili, the bullet chili, so this is what I'm referring to when I say bullet chilies. All right. So they're fatter, they're shorter than the green chilies that I used earlier, the bird's eye chili. So this chili isn't as hot in terms of spice level as a bird's eye chili, but it still has seeds in it. All right. So what we're going to be doing with these are slitting them down the middle and filling them with the chaat masala, which I'll talk about in a second, with a bit of lemon juice. So this will add further tartness and that achari flavor notes to the curry. I'm using approximately 5. You don't have to use these at all. So as I said, this is optional. And if you want to add the bullet chilies, great. If you don't, you'll still get that nice achari flavor with the spice mix we've already put in with the chicken or the cauliflower, depending on what you're using. So these are the bullet chilies, all right? So if I just remove the spotlight on what I'm doing here for a second. So anyone using bullet chilies? If you have, show me what you've got. Are they the same as these ones? Yeah, Rachel, I can see you've got some there. Hannah, yeah, they look great. Paul, that's the one. So yeah, you've all got the right ones there. If you bought them like in a packet, it will usually tell you what sort of spice level they are anyway. Generally speaking, it should kind of say mild. But if it does say medium or hot, then again, just be aware that, you know, the whole profile of the dish coming together with all the different elements we're using will determine the overall spice level. So bear that in mind when you're adding any chilies to a curry. Okay. Okay, so don't worry if you've already put muga, if you've already put them in the marinade, not a problem. So remember, there's 2 types of chilies we're using. So the green chilies are added to the marinade. Don't worry if you put these in with the marinade as well, not a bother. Have you got any spare? No, that's all right. I was going to say, if you have got any spare, you might be able to use 1 or 2 to add the chaat masala in. But don't worry if you haven't. You can always sprinkle that in if you manage to get hold of the chaat masala into the curry. So let me just talk to you a little bit about the chaat masala. So it comes in various different forms here in the UK anyway. So this one is called a chana chaat. You also have something called a chaat masala. I just couldn't get the chaat masala today. But essentially, it's just a nice mix of spices. So this will be very similar to the chaat masala. And on the back here, if I just read out the ingredients, so it's got things like paprika, red chili, coriander, cumin, fennel, black pepper, fenugreek seeds, bay leaf. So it's a lot of things in there, right? So it's a really nice spice blend. If you haven't been able to find this today, then just leave it out altogether. What we'll do is when we prepare the bullet chilies, I'll just ask you to sprinkle a little bit or squeeze a little bit of lemon juice onto those chilies and just omit the chaat masala if you've not got it. Okay. But it looks like, yeah, I can see Nicola showing me that packet. Just bring that a bit closer to the screen. Yeah, there we go. Chaat masala. That's the one. Good job. Okay, so hopefully, as you can see, my onions are just starting to now take on a bit of color. They're still not as brown as I would like them, but you can see some of them are cooking quicker than the others. That's why you have to just keep giving it a little bit of a stir. That's why it's also important that those onions are chopped pretty much a similar size so they cook at a similar time. If it looks like your onions are cooking far quicker than this, then obviously just turn the heat down a little bit, or you can add a tiny splash of water, maybe a teaspoon or two. You don't need much, just to cool down the pan a little bit. But we don't want to fry these like on a really high heat and get them brown. We want to do it on a medium heat like we're doing this, so that we're releasing those natural sugars and we're caramelizing the onions. It's almost like sauteing them rather than frying them, which is a different process and gives you a different flavor and outcome. So whilst we are just waiting for these onions, I'll just let you know what I will be making next Saturday, which again, I'll put up online within the next day or two so I can get the ingredients out to you as quick as possible. I think there was some issue with some people receiving the ingredients list through Eventbrite. I do always email you directly. Let me just bring the camera up here so you're not talking to the onions. I will always, so the email address that you enter into the Eventbrite will be the email address that it automatically sends any emails to. I guess makes sense. So the first thing is, please always make sure you do put an email in there. But secondly, sometimes that email can go into a junk or a spam folder, so just keep checking that. But I will send that. Some of you probably received it 4 or 5 times because I send it kind of every other day from at least 5 to 6 days out from the event. So next Saturday, I make it the 4th of Jan, I think it is next Saturday off the top of my head. So next Saturday, I'm going to be making a biryani. So that's going to be a paneer biryani, or there's a king prawn or prawn option. There's going to be a paneer biryani or a prawn biryani. Now, I will say there's quite a few processes to that. So I'd say in terms of kind of skill level, it's probably more medium rather than beginner. But I'm pretty sure that most of you are pretty adept at cooking on here now. So I think it'll be no problem. And of course, I'll go through that nicely, step by step. There'll be kind of a bit of multitasking to do for that one. So you might have a couple of things going at the same time. But it's a really nice dish. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So if you can make that, fantastic. Look out for the link that will be out probably tomorrow now. And please do share it with as many people as you can. There's a lot of steam here. Okay. So let me just put the camera back down on the counter here so you can see the onions. So you can see here again, just let me just spotlight my screen again. So you can see here just nicely caramelizing now. I could just do with a little bit more color. It would be great to see how yours are looking if you're able to show me. Yes, you can do chicken or lamb instead of the prawns or the paneer. That's for the biryani for next week. The only thing I would say is with the lamb, probably avoid the lamb because that will take a little while longer. So you could do chicken, prawn or veg. Paneer is the option I'm going to go for. Okay. So there we go. Just give that another little mix. And then the next thing we'll be going in with, not just yet, so just in a few minutes, we'll go in with the tomato puree and the chopped tomatoes. All right, so that'll be the next thing. So actually, what I'll say at this point is if your onions are looking like they're a lot darker than mine already and you're worried about them overcooking, then you can add in your tomatoes now if you wish. I'm just going to wait. So if you want to follow me, just hang fire for a couple of minutes. But what we're looking for is 1 tablespoon of tomato puree and 2 medium to large tomatoes, which hopefully you've already got finely chopped. So if you want to, you can go in with those now. And then whilst I'm just waiting for these to just finish off, I might just come and say hello to a couple of you, see how we're getting on. Just bear with me. Put that camera back up. Okay, so Monica and John, how are you both doing? Or maybe just one of you in the kitchen, I can't quite see.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah.
Good, good. And is it just yourself today?
Yes, it is just me.
And how are we getting on? Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Just yeah.
Amazing. And what are you doing the chicken version then today, are you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Chicken.
Great. And how are the onions coming along? Are they taking on a nice colour?
Not yet. They're still looking a bit pasty, it has to be said. But
Okay. That's all right. You can turn the heat up ever so slightly. As I say, we don't want to get them dark too quickly, but if you feel like they need a little bit of a push, then just turn up your heat a notch and they should be fine.
okay.
All right. Well, good luck with the rest of it. I'm sure you're going to do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Who have we got here? So, Paul, how are you, Paul? You okay?
Yeah, all good.
Great to see you again. Who have you got with you today?
I don't know.
Say again, sorry.
I don't know. I don't know who she is. She just wandered in.
All right, okay. You got a rogue person.
That's Jackie. That's Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good to see you both. And how are we getting on with this so far? You look super relaxed. So have you just got the onions cooking away nicely?
Tomatoes are in. Tomato puree's in.
Ah, look at this. Pros there. And
Yeah.
how's your holiday season period been so far?
Up and down, but it's all right. All right, thank you.
Oh, good, good. Well, look, it's good to see you on here again. Hopefully you're going to have a good result and enjoy the food this evening. So, yeah, it'll be good to see how that turns out. See you in a bit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I should have said at the beginning, actually, in terms of the rice that we're making. So I did put it on the instructions list, but you should already have your rice. So approximately 350 grams washed and soaked in some lukewarm water. So actually now's a good time. If you haven't done that already, if you'd like to just weigh out your rice, wash it in 3 or 4 changes of water, and then soak it in a bit of water, just so it covers the top of where the rice is, lukewarm water. Even if that's for a few minutes, that would be great. That does 2 things. One is you're washing any excess starch, so you don't get gloopy rice, you get nice separate grains of rice. And secondly, by soaking it, it means you get nice long grains of rice when they cook. All right. So if you've done that already, great. If not, then now would be a good time to do that whilst we're just waiting for that base sauce to cook a little bit more. So if I just show you here then for my onions, just spotlight that again for you. And just as a reminder, you can go quite dark with the onions. So for some of you, well, not you, because you've done these before with me, so you know now, but a lot of people would sort of stop cooking these onions a lot sooner in fear of them burning. But that's actually a perfect color for the onions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go add in my tomatoes and all the juice that's with those. So there we go, there's the tomatoes. And I'm going to add in, as I said, 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. Okay, and just give that all a really nice mix. Stir that through. Obviously, once we've added the tomatoes with the juice, that will reduce the temperature in the pan ever so slightly. I've still got it on a medium heat, and we're just going to let those soften down a little bit. So what I'd like you to do, even if you've got the tomatoes in already, is just add in about a tablespoon of water, just tap water, and then just pop the lid on so we can just get the tomatoes really nice and softened. Okay, so let's just do that. So just going to add in about a tablespoon of water. There we go. Give that a quick mix. And then just going to pop the lid on just to help those tomatoes soften a little bit quicker. Okay, back to me for a minute. So let me just have a look at the chat to make sure I've not missed anything. So I should say my mic doesn't work on my laptop, so apologies if you say hello to me, but I can write in the chat. Okay, that would be fantastic. I will remember that. Hannah, we just realized that we don't have tomato puree. Should we add anything else? Extra tomatoes. Hannah, don't worry if you haven't got any tomato puree, no problem. If you want to add extra tomatoes, you can do. That's not a problem at all. So if you like a nice tomatoey taste to your curry, then by all means add in an extra tomato. Not a bother. Don't worry if you don't have that tomato puree. The other thing you could add, maybe you've got some passata in the fridge or somewhere that maybe you want to use up. You could use some of that as well. Okay. So let me just come and say hello to a couple more people whilst we're just waiting for this to finish up. So Rachel, how are we getting on, Rachel?
Hey, real, yeah, good. Good, thanks. Tomatoes are cooking away nicely. So we're doing the cauliflower one because it's been a bit meaty over Christmas, shall we say.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So a bit of a break from that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And how are the onions coming along? Have you got them a good colour?
Yeah, I think they were. And yeah, pop the tomatoes in just as you started chatting earlier. So yeah, it's cooking down nicely. Thank you.
Brilliant. And have you got lots of people around your house, or is it a bit quieter now?
No, it's just the two of us, my partner, myself, and our German Shepherd. So she's been keeping us entertained.
Yay, excellent.
Sharing with the turkeys. So
She'll be thinking, what are all these smells we've got going on in the house today?
yeah, exactly. And why isn't it a meat version? So
All right, okay. But look, all the best with it. Really looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out. Thank you for joining.
brilliant. Thank you. No worries.
No problem. Hector, we managed to get half onion in there and making a great sauce. Fantastic. Right, let's speak to Hector. Where are you, Hector?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
You?
There you are. I can see you now. You've got your camera on. You managed to take out some onions, have you?
Well, we diced another onion.
Sorry, say again?
We diced another onion.
Oh, you diced another one. Fantastic. Yeah, don't worry. You leave the onions in with the chicken. You're doing a chicken version, right?
Correct.
Yeah, leave them in there. They'll cook nicely anyway when you're doing the chicken, so that'll be fine. Remind me, what time is it there?
It's noon, 12:20.
Okay, so a little bit earlier in the day. So you'll have your evening meal ready by the time we're done for later.
Exactly. Yeah, ready for lunch.
Yes.
Good planning. And how have you been? Not seen you for a while?
Very good. Very good. Here, this little guy growing a lot.
I know, right? You've got family helping you out. That's nice to see.
Indeed. Yes.
Oh, great stuff. Well, look, all the best with this. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. So please do post a picture later.
We will. Thank you, and great seeing you again.
Great to see you again. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, as always, if you want to post a picture, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, or if you're even on the WhatsApp group, if you'd like to just send me a picture of how that's turned out, I'd love to see that. That'd be great. Right, so let's have a look at these tomatoes, how they're coming along. Just bear with me. Just pop this lid down somewhere. Okay, so let's have a look what's going on here. I just spotlight my screen again. Okay, so what you'll see is these tomatoes are now nice and mushy. The onions are cooked in with the tomatoes, the puree's cooked in. That water that we added has now evaporated. So this is really any liquid that's in here now, the little liquid that there is in there is from the tomatoes, all right? So they, in the next minute or so, will be ready to add in, or to add the chicken in, or the cauliflower, whatever it is you're adding. We have got some, so you'll see on the list for the sauce, we've got the bullet chilies if you're using them, the lemon juice, the chaat masala if you've got it, and the coriander leaves. So we're not going to put any of those in just yet, all right? That's going to be to finish off the dish. But what we do need to do at this stage, and again, you can leave it on a medium heat, is we're now going to add in the main ingredient that you're using. So I've got here the chicken that I've had marinating to one side for a while. So I'm going to add that straight into the pan. And as much of that marinade, yogurt marinade that you can get into that pan, please, the better. Get that all in there. And to be honest, this is going to be more than enough. Well, I guess it depends on your appetite, really, and how hungry you are. But I think with the rice, what, 4 or 5 people, you think? 4 people, maybe? We ate not long ago, actually. We had a late lunch, so maybe I'm not feeling as hungry as some of you. Okay. And what you can do, actually, because there's still some good marinade and flavour in there, if you've got a bit of tap water in a glass, You can just kind of rinse that out. So to get as much of that marinade out of the bowl, it doesn't matter because that water will evaporate anyway pretty soon once you've had it into the pan. It's always a nice little thing to do is just try and scrape out as much of that marinade using a little bit of water so we're not wasting all that great flavor. That's gone in there. Right, just going to give my hands a quick wash and then I'm going to give that a good mix. Okay, so just give that a really good mix then. And what we're looking to do is to mix in that main ingredient, in this case, the chicken for me, in with that tomatoey base sauce. All right. So everything's really nicely coated. The tomatoes are mixed in with the marinated chicken and the chicken is mixed in with the tomatoes. So it's all combined essentially really nicely. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add into here. Now, two things to bear in mind, particularly if you're using full fat yogurt, there's going to be quite a bit of moisture that will come out of the yogurt. So there'll also be quite a bit of moisture that will come out of the chicken. But regardless of that, I'm going to add in some liquid to create a sauce. So I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of water. Again, just give that a little stir. I'm still on a medium heat, okay? Still on a medium heat. And I'm just going to pop the lid on and then we'll come back to see how that's getting on shortly. All right, so we'll just cover that up for now. So now that's going to cook, and depending on what sort of chicken you're using, whether you're using it on the bone or boneless, or if you're using vegetables or whatever that is, everything will cook at a slightly different time. So if you're doing it on the bone like I am, this is likely to take at least 20 to 30 minutes. We'll check it intermittently, of course, to see how it's coming along. And then, of course, not long before it's finished cooking, we'll do the rice. But we are now going to prepare the chilies. Okay, so remember these bullet chilies that we were talking about earlier. So we're just going to prepare these whilst we're waiting. So I'll show you how I'm going to do those. All right. So first thing to note is what I've done with this chili, or what I'm going to do with each one, is just take my knife, obviously on a chopping board, and just slit it, not all the way to the top, so almost from the top all the way to the bottom, just so that I can just twist it and prise it open a little bit. So we've got an opening like so. So basically we've got it slit down the middle. All right. Not going to take the top off. We're going to keep it intact, but we're just going to split it down the middle like so. Now, when you see in the middle, you'll see that this one has got seeds in, which I'm sure yours will have as well. So you can scrape those out with a spoon or a knife, just carefully. You can just take those out of there. I'm going to leave those in for me. All right. So you want to split all your green chilies like so. I'm going to do that with all of them. And just to create an opening to add in that masala that we're going to make. All right. And this is, again, is what's going to help to create that achari flavor. Now, just on a side note, if, hang on, I'll back in a second. But I was just going to find this jar. So what I was going to say, just on a side note, if you've got access to like a pickle like this, so a lime pickle, a mango pickle, or anything like that, that can also be added to a curry like this. Obviously, this is ready-made pickle. It'll give you that pickle flavor. obviously it's got a lot of flavors and spices already in there. So just be careful to balance that with what you've already got in here. Okay. But the process we're using with the chaat masala and the lemon juice, which I'm going to show you in a minute, will give you a similar flavor to this. All right. Plus all the other seeds and everything that we've used. But if you want to get that really nice pickly flavor, you can add half a teaspoon of this towards the end of cooking into your curry, or you could even serve it on the side of the plate, all right, as a dip or an extra addition to your curry, all right? So that's what I was talking about when I meant pickle. That's just one brand. You've got lots of different brands of achar or pickle that you can find. This one is, it says on the bottom, this is kind of a medium spice one here, all right? But for those of you who are doing it my way, what I'd like to do now is just to get a little small bowl of some kind. So you can just get a bowl or a mug, something, any kind of vessel. And what I'd like to do is to pop into there is 2 teaspoons of chaat masala, again, if you've got it and you're using it, and the juice of half a lemon, just to create a little paste. All right. So I'm just going to do that and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. Where are you? There it is. Give it a bit of a squeeze and a roll on the counter. So top tip, by the way, if you don't already do it, if you roll any citrus fruit on the counter before cutting it, you get more juice because essentially you're breaking all those cells of juice inside. And then when you squeeze it, you get a lot more juice out of it. Okay. Okay, so this is what I've got, right? So 2 teaspoons of chaat masala. I've got the juice of half a lemon, and I'm just going to mix it together. Smells very strong, chaat masala, when you first take it out of the packet. It's got a very strong smell. But the flavor, and obviously when it's cooked down, it won't have that same strong smell. But the flavor that it gives you is amazing. I can see some things are coming through on the chat function, so just bear with me 2 ticks. And I'll have a look at what you're asking or commenting on. So kind of a loose, not a thick paste, kind of a loose mixture, really. All right, like so. So just pop that to one side for a second. So just see what people are asking or saying. Please repeat what to do with the chaat masala and lemon juice. I will. Yep. So Hilary, so it was just 2 teaspoons of chaat masala in a bowl or a mug or something, any vessel. And I've just added in, squeezed in the juice of half a lemon and just made it into that loose paste. How high should the heat be now? Okay, so I've still got the heat under here on a medium heat. All right. If I don't have chaat, any substitutes? Not really, Hector, if I'm honest. But what I was going to say is, as I said earlier, if you don't have the chaat masala, if you just take your bullet chilies and just squeeze a bit of lemon juice over each one. Not too much, just a little bit, and maybe even try and prise it open and just get a little bit of lemon juice inside. That will do a great job. How much chaat masala? It was 2 teaspoons, Judith, okay? And I think that's all the questions so far. All right, so let's just have a little look at what's going on in the pan. So just give that a little stir. Obviously, it'll be far from cooked at this stage, but it's good just to give everything another little mix intermittently, just to make sure everything's nicely coated. Pop this lid down a second, out of the way. There we go. Now, if it looks like the dish is sticking or the curry sticking to the bottom of your pan, it shouldn't do. But if it is, just turn the heat down ever so slightly. Maybe just add another little splash of water, all right? But on a medium heat, that should be absolutely fine for now. That's smelling amazing already. So we'll just pop the lid back on and keep that cooking. So the bullet chilies that we mentioned earlier, I showed you earlier. So that's those. And that's my mixture, right? The chaat masala. Essentially, what we want to do is get some of this inside the chili. So it might be a little bit messy, all right? So do it on another chopping board or into another bowl, so anything that drips in. And just try, I'll see if I can show you whilst holding this. We're just kind of pouring some of that inside each of the chilies, really. All right, so that's one side. Turn it around. Doesn't matter if some of it pours out. We're just trying to line some of that flavor inside. All right, and then just squeeze it together and just keep it like that. And then just lay it somewhere down, ready to go into the dish. So we're not adding those into the dish just yet. All right, I'm just going to pop that on the side. We're going to do that when the chicken's almost cooked. All right, so this will be the last bit of flavor that will go into the dish. Okay. So the other thing you'll need, of course, if you like it, that is, not everybody likes coriander, but on the list was some coriander leaves, fresh coriander leaves. So these I've got washed and ready to chop. So I'm going to finely chop those. We'll use some of that for the curry, and we're going to use some of that for the rice to make our turmeric and coriander rice. All right, which we're going to come on to shortly. I'll show you how to do that. Not just yet. We'll get the rice on in about another 5 minutes or so. We'll start that process. By the way, if anyone, let me just bring this camera up here. By the way, if anyone's got any ideas for any other dishes that you'd like to make or you've always wanted to know how to make, then pop it into the chat function or send me an email or a message separately and I can add that to the list of things to make. Always looking for inspiration for new recipes, as you know. So if you've got a curry house favorite or something unique to your area where you're from, then just let me know. And I'll do my best to come up with a great version that we can cook together. That's manageable for everybody to do in their home in hopefully a decent amount of time. So yeah, looking forward to doing that. At the moment, I'm sticking to South Asian food, South Asian cuisine, but that's not to say that I don't start doing some other cuisines in the future. So again, if you've got, a favorite dish from any kind of background, let me know and I'll look into it and do my research and hopefully come up with a nice version of that as well. So do keep in touch with me and let me know what you'd like to do and keep spreading that word, obviously. We'll see how we go. Again, just a little plug from me. If any of you work for organizations or charities, if you want to do like a team building activity for your team or the company, or if you've got a charity that you work for that you want to do something and raise some funds for, or a personal goal that you're raising money for, anything like that, or a celebration, anniversary, then obviously you can do lots of sort of private cookalongs and dining events as well, if that's something that you're interested in. So just bear that in mind if it's an event that you're looking to do. Okay. All right, so whilst we're waiting for this then, let me come around and say hello to a couple more people. Bob, how are we doing, sir?
Very good, thank you, Raheel. Very good.
Good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you too.
It's been a while. Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, spent it with the family, which was brilliant. Really enjoyed
nice.
it, thanks.
Nice. And have you got help with you today, or is Kate about, or is it just you?
I have. I've got my beautiful assistant, stroke wife.
Hello. I thought you looked a bit chilled out, so you wearing that apron as a bit of a decoy?
Yeah. She's behind me doing all the cooking. I'm just stood here in front of the camera.
Why not? Why not? I'm sure you're giving them all the important instructions, though. And are you?
Yeah, hopefully she's listening.
Are you doing the chicken version tonight?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Good. Well, as always, it'd be great to see how that turns out. Thank you for joining again. I think it was a bit of a last-minute decision from you, wasn't it, to join in? So thank you for joining. Glad you could make it.
It was, but we will be joining more in future. Really pleased to hear that you're starting these up again regularly. So you'll see a bit more of us.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll be glad for when I've got my cooker, to be honest. Then we can start doing some proper cookalongs on an even more regular occasion. But for now, I'm making do with this. But fingers crossed, it'll still turn out great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob. Speak to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
See you later. Alex, how you doing?
Okay.
Good.
How are you? Hi, Jill.
Hello. I'm there. Yes. So
Have you had a nice-
I'm the washer up. He's the cook.
Yeah, Alex is a pro now, aren't you, Alex?
Yes.
Yes.
You should have your own cookbook out soon. Look at that. You're a dab hand now.
Yeah.
Let's do a collaboration of some kind.
He does.
Yes.
He does really enjoy it. So I was so glad that you're coming back on to doing these.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. Yeah, apologies. It's been a while. It's just been so much going on and everything here. But I do hope to do them more regularly. So it'll be great to see you again.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later. Enjoy. Okay. Right. Again, I won't keep moving the camera for now. I'm just going to give the curry a quick stir. Just make sure that nothing's sticking. It's still coming along nicely. One thing you might note when you first went in with the chicken is that, especially if you're using full fat natural yogurt, it will split a little bit when you add the chicken in. That's fine. As you cook it, that appearance and the flavor of the yogurt and the way it will mix in with everything else, it'll be absolutely fine. So don't worry if it looks a little bit like it's splitting initially. When that all comes together, it's going to be fine. All right. So just keep giving that a little bit stir intermittently. If anyone's got any questions, by the way, again, as I said, feel free to ask or pop it into the chat function. Any suggestions of any other recipes you'd like to make, again, just pop that into the chat function. It's not a problem at all. Okay. By the way, I'm just going to check. Can you hear me nice and clearly still? You can. Wonderful. It's just this induction hob I'm using because obviously it's induction. It's got a bit of a fan going on. It's got a bit of background noise. So apologies if that's interfering. It shouldn't be. Sounds like everyone can hear me okay. So can you say the title of this dish again? Yes, I can. I shall type that into the chat function. Just bear with me. So it's called Achari, which is basically pickle chicken. All right, so that's the name of the main ingredient. Obviously, if you're not doing the chicken, then whatever it is you're making. Is there a reason why we didn't brown off the chicken before adding it to the sauce? Great question, Bob. Yeah, absolutely. So you could do that if you wanted to. The only reason we didn't do that is that obviously we marinated it in the yogurt. So once you've marinated in the yogurt, if you then try and brown it off at a high heat, that yogurt will just probably burn quite quickly. So you could, though, if you wanted to, you could brown the chicken off, let that cool, then add the marinade. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. You could brown it and then cut some little slits into it and then add the marinade. That might allow it to penetrate a little bit more. So there's lots of different techniques, absolutely. But great question. Yeah, absolutely. Try different methods. So my yogurt is split and I'm doing mixed veg version, not panicking. Yeah, don't panic, Muga. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. It will split a little bit initially, but that will cook into the rest. I presume you've added all the tomatoes and everything else, so that will cook in nicely to that. Don't worry. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to put the camera down onto this dish again, show you once more what it's looking like at this stage. And then I'm going to finish off preparing the bullet chilies, as I mentioned, with the masala. We're not going to put those in just yet, remember. For those of you doing cauliflower, how's that coming along? Just try it with a knife or a skewer just to see that it's getting cooked all the way through nicely. That might still take a little while yet. As long as they're cut into small to medium-sized florets, then they shouldn't be much different in time to what I'm doing here. So we'll add the chilies in a little while. Let's have a look at this. We'll get the rice on as well. So if you want to do that, actually, before we look at this, if you want to get a pan, so like a medium saucepan such as this, fill it with water to almost to the top and just pop it on the heat until you get it to a boil, essentially. All right, so we'll do that. So let's do that now whilst we're waiting. Okay, so let's take a look at this then. So just going to move the camera down again. I'll just move that lid. Pop that over there for a second. Okay, so let's just give this a bit of a stir again. So you'll notice here that it's starting to thicken up a little bit now, all right? So that yogurt will start to thicken up with the tomatoes to create a nice base sauce. The chicken will start to have taken on a more, I guess, opaque color. So that means that's cooking nicely, right? Particularly if it's on the bone, it's going to, things like your leg and your thigh and the wing will need to make sure that they cook all the way through to the bone. So we need to make sure we're cooking it for long enough. If anyone's using chicken breast or chicken thigh, then obviously the way to check if it's cooked or not is just to carefully remove a piece, just tear it with your fingers or a couple of forks, just to make sure that's cooked through. I'm not sure it will be just yet, but it may be, depending on how small you cut your pieces. So we're just going to give that a few more minutes yet before we even add the green chilies. So I'm going to move this pot onto that pot over the other side of the counter and leave that on a medium heat to carry on cooking, whilst I then show you how to make the rice. All right, so let's move that over here. Okay. So what I've got here then is as I said, a medium pan of water, just tap water, hot tap water. And I'm just going to pop it on a very high setting or the highest setting, just to get that to a rolling boil. All right. Once we've done that, we can then add in the rice and everything else. So let's just do that quickly. I'm just finishing off basting my chilies in that chaat masala mix and lemon juice. Okay. So if you haven't got your chopped coriander ready, you could give that a quick chop now as well, just so that's ready to go for the curry and for the rice. So let's give that a little chop up as well. And of course, you can put as little or as much coriander as you like, really. We love coriander, as you probably know by now. So I'm going to do a fair amount of coriander here. I've got quite a large handful of coriander. And also, don't forget to use, if you can, some of the very fine stalks as well, because they, again, as you probably heard me say a number of times, have a lot of flavour in them too. Not the really woody bits, but just the fine stalks. If you wanted to use the slightly thicker stalks, remember you can use those in when you're making a base curry. So just adding them in with the onions early on is a nice way to add an extra layer of coriander flavour. That's if you like it, that is. Then you can maximise the use of the whole bunch rather than having to throw away the stalks that quite often people do. Okay. Right, that's that chopped up. Okay, so in this pan that's coming to a boil, I'm going to add in just half a teaspoon of salt, all right? Just to kind of season the water. That will then season the rice, all right? So just half a teaspoon, don't need more than that. And also, another important point to note here is that when we're making the turmeric rice, it's important you don't add the turmeric rice straight into the boiling water. without the rice already in there. So if you add turmeric to this, when it comes to a rolling boil, it will kind of spoil the flavor of the turmeric. All right, it will just overcook and it won't give you the flavor you want. It'll go quite acrid and really kind of bitter. So therefore, we need to add it in once the rice is in. So it's cooking in with the rice. So it's not just lots of boiling water with the turmeric alone. Salt is fine. So the salt has gone in. We're just going to let this come to a boil. So it hasn't done just yet. And then your rice that you've got soaking, whilst we're waiting for that water to boil, if you just want to pour off the excess liquid, because obviously that will have starch in there now, which we don't want to add in here, otherwise it'll make the rice go gloopy. So let's pour away the excess water, making sure that you don't pour away the rice just into a sieve or something like that. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Okay, so that's my rice now. As you can see, the water all drained off, right? So we'll just give it another minute or so for that water to come to a proper boil. And then we'll add that in. And the rice shouldn't take longer than sort of 6 to 7 minutes to cook, right? So it'll be quite quick. Just keep an eye on your main dish. Just give it another stir if you need to. Just make sure nothing's burning or sticking. If you need to add a tiny splash of water, you can. If you need to turn the heat down a little bit, you can. Just keep an eye on it. Just don't just leave it completely on its own. Okay, so you can start to see some bubbles coming to the top here. So that's almost come to a full boil. So we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so. I'm just going to go across the other way and stir this chicken whilst I'm waiting. Okay, so I'll show you in a second, but what I've noticed with my chicken is that it's starting to now, the oil is starting to separate out from the base sauce. Now, that's always a good indicator that the dish is coming to a conclusion in terms of being cooked. When the oil starts to separate from all the other moisture, it means that you're now starting to really get into the a harder cooking, if you like, of the dish. So I'm reducing the heat down. I've reduced it to a low heat now, like a number 2 on the induction here. So if you just reduce the heat right down to a low heat now, just to finish off that cooking, just check the chicken if it's done or not. You'll see the oil is coming up around the side. So once I've added the rice into the pan here, I'm then going to go and add my green bullet chilies into the main dish. All right. So if you're using those, that's what you need to do now. Alex, we're eating tomorrow. Thank you, as we are now leaving. That's great. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jill, for joining. Hopefully, I'll see you again next week, and hopefully you enjoy that. Thank you. So just put the camera down here then. So into this pan now, I'm going to add all of that rice. There we go. Get every last grain out. Okay. Almost. Waste not, want not. Get it all out of there, look. There we go. That's all the rice in the pan. And then we just want to give it, if I can find another spoon, just bear with me. So just give that one stir like so. That's it. And then now what we're going to do is we'll add it in our turmeric powder. All right, so half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Find another teaspoon, just bear with me. So half a teaspoon goes in, maybe a little bit more. There we go. So just over half a teaspoon. And then just give that one more stir. And so just so that you know, so the turmeric is for two reasons. One, obviously, is for flavor, but two, in this instance, more for the color than the flavor, to be honest, but you're getting both in there. So it's just something a little bit different. So we're going to let that boil now until that's cooked through. So we'll keep an eye on that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add my green chilies now to my pan of chicken that's cooking over there. And then I'll bring it over here so you can see how it's looking. All right, so if you're using the bullet chilies, now's the time to do that. Okay, so that's that done. So I'm just going to leave this. I'm just going to swap these two pans over again so you can see the chicken. Sorry, because I've only got one camera and one hob is over that side and one's over this side. So just bear with me whilst I just maneuver things around a little bit. Okay. So let me show you how this is looking then. Quick question here. Just the chilies, chart lemon sauce as well. Yes. So Paul, so the chilies that we were talking, let me show you. So the chilies that I put in here, I added the chaat masala, the mix inside the chilies, and I put those in there. Any excess that you've got, you can just baste over those chilies if you wish. All right. So by all means, you can use all of that masala that you've made, or you can save that for another time. So you'll see here, these are the green bullet chilies that I'd put the chaat masala inside. I've just kind of nestled those into the curry. All right. Let's just give this a little bit of a stir. Okay. So you can see there's a nice sauce there. It's probably more of a thicker sauce. So, well, it's not that thick and it's also not that runny, but that's really how it should be. So it shouldn't be a very watery curry. And it also shouldn't be too thick either. So you should certainly have some sauce that's a pouring kind of, will pour off the spoon fairly easily. All right. So just give that another little mix like so. I've got it on a low heat at the moment. Can everyone see that okay, by the way? Yeah, great. It'd be great to see how some of your dishes are looking. So Lauren saying my curry is a lot more runny than yours. I think maybe I shouldn't have added the water. That's fine, Lauren. So if that's happened with yours, just take the lid off and cook it for a little while with the lid off, and that water will evaporate. But it'd be good to see how some of your curries are looking. If you can show me without dropping your device into your curry, without doing that, please. Yeah, so Judith, that looks good. It looks like it got a really good consistency to that. Excellent. Rachel, yeah, that looks great as well. So that was the cauliflower, right? Yeah. Looks good. Paul, that's looking great. Yeah, Nicola, that looks like a really nice consistency as well. Bob, that looks fab. Jeanette, yeah, so these are all looking superb. And you can see by looking at all the different dishes, some people have added more of a certain spice and others have added less. So you've got a lovely sort of an array of colours there that we can see. Wonderful. So I'm just going to leave this uncovered now, just for a few minutes on a low heat, just to cook through. I've not added the coriander leaves just yet. I'm going to add those in a few minutes. Just going to check on the rice, make sure nothing's happening there that shouldn't be. Yeah, so that's cooking away nicely. So that the rice will probably just be maybe a few more minutes, and then we can check it. The way to check the rice to see if the rice is done, the way to check that is just to remove a few grains of rice on a fork. Be careful because they'll be hot, and then just mush them between your forefinger and thumb, and they should just mush those grains. Taste it, you'll also know. Unlike pasta, rice should be nicely cooked and soft. It shouldn't be al dente or have a bite to it, really. Particularly basmati rice, so it should be nice and soft, but not mushy. And that's the reason for getting rid of any of the starch and cooking it in boiling water just until it's done. And then we're just going to pour off the excess water, and we'll be left with this nicely brightly yellow colored rice, which will then stir some of the coriander through. So just have a sieve to hand or a fine colander or something so we can drain that water away shortly. Again, I don't know if you can see in this pan, if I show you, if I bring it a bit closer, you'll see in the middle just the oil, what I mean by the oil separating out from the rest of the curry. Can you see, just particularly in the middle and around the sides, that oil is just separating out, which means that that's cooking really nicely. Give it a little stir, make sure. So now's a good time, particularly with some of the bigger pieces, and particularly with like a leg piece or something like that, is just to check right near the bone, just making sure that it's fully cooked. So if I just get a knife and just try and cut through that. So you'll see there that there should be no pink, particularly right close up to the bone. It should just be nice and white and opaque. So that is actually done. So the rest of the pieces might just take a few more minutes. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to add in the coriander. So a good handful of coriander, actually. Sprinkle that over. Just leaving a few leaves, really, enough just to put into the stir into the rice when that's cooked. So just give that a gentle stir. And then now that I've got the coriander in, I'm just going to cover that again once more with the lid, just for that coriander flavor to infuse into the curry. So that's that. Bob says, as cooks, you're eating it. See you again soon. Thanks, Bob and co, if you haven't already left. Hopefully you're going to enjoy that. So just the rice to go then, really. So just checking on that, just making sure it's not overcooking. Yeah. So I reckon the rice is probably just a minute or two away from finishing. So I'm just going to grab a colander, just drain that off. So not long now. So that rice is actually nice and cooked here. So I've just tried a few grains. So I'm just going to drain this off, and I'll be back with you in a second just to show you how it's looking. Okay, so let's show you how that's looking. So I'm just going to move this back over this side. Just bear with me. Okay, so we've got the rice here nicely cooked through. So you can see that it's got a beautiful yellow color on it. Can you see that, everyone? So really nice color on it. Just a gentle stir. And then just going to sprinkle through that coriander at the end. Like so. Get that all in. There we go. And you don't need much of that. It's just really to add a bit of extra flavor and a bit of nice appearance to the rice. Don't overstir your rice or you'll break those grains again and then they'll start to release starch and we don't want that. So there you go. So there's the coriander and turmeric rice. That should have a nice seasoning to it with the salt and should have a nice turmeric flavor as well as the coriander. So that is your cookalong done, everyone. You just want to check that your main dish is cooked. I'll post a picture of what that's going to look like. So let's just have a quick look at the chat function, make sure I haven't missed anything. So all done, tastes great. Is there a WhatsApp photo page, please? Yes, there is. What I'll do is if anyone wants to join the WhatsApp group, if you send me an email, if that's okay, or a message on Instagram, I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. Lauren said this was brilliant. Thank you. Mine is cooked, so off to help with bath and bedtime. Oh, lovely. And Muldenny, thank you and look out to be finally be able to join Medical Aid for Palestine. Yes, please do. Aisha, thank you for real. Mine is now cooked, so going to tuck in. It smells delicious. See you again soon. Thank you, Aisha. Nicholas says, bye all. I did small quantities and have hot chapatis. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Raheel. Please send me an email address as I only get Eventbrite. I will do. Paul says, fantastic. It's amazing. Thanks again. Okay, thanks, Raheel. Thank you. This smells amazing. Look, thank you, everyone. It looks like you've all done a great job. I'd love to see the pictures to see how they're looking when you're done. And hopefully, as I say, I'll see you on the cook along next week. Is the biryani. Please join in if you're interested. Please spread the word. Let as many people as you know about it. And hopefully we'll do some more again soon. But for now, thank you. Enjoy your meal. And, I'll hopefully see you again soon.
Quick question. When do we add the coriander to the rice? Sorry.
Now, go for it. Right now. So when
Excellent.
your rice is cooked and you've drained it, you're just stirring through that coriander at the end just to complete the rice.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks,
you next
Hector. Thanks, Caroline. It smells amazing. Monica and John, thank you as well. See you later, everyone. See you next week, hopefully. Bye-bye.